Hi, fellas. Hopefully you guys are all wrapped up with the finals, did well, ended well, and obviously we're gonna do this via Zoom so we don't have to meet in person, but focusing on counter today more than anything, and just kind of taking a deep dive into it, just so you guys feel comfortable with that run scheme in our offense, right? Three different ways of running it for the most part. Okay, so you should be able to answer the non-negotiables, okay, without having those up there. And Kai wants you to do that. What are the non-negotiables for us? Okay. Carter wants you to text the group. What are the standards for the tailbacks off the field? Okay. And then let's get Aiden. Okay. Ask what the or text the group what the standards are on the field. Okay. All right. And then yeah, should be good there. All right, run game. We so that should be this is old, right? This should be lug. Okay. Didn't even realize that till now. But it should be lug screw and the rest of these are correct. We're not going to go over black ground. We're not going to go over captain today. All right. Just going to be counter. Okay. Sorry, I was writing something down. All right. So lug screw. Okay. The gun versus pistol. All right, aiming point, read. Okay, that doesn't change. Only thing that's going to change is your footwork. But again, this is all about timing. Okay, all about timing. So the big thing on all of our counter game is a timing between the second puller and the tailback. All right, so big thing on counter. Right, if we're running, lug to the left, we want to be down and then around. Okay, and we want to be able to hit this thing vertical, okay, through there. That's ideal, right? Just like inside zone, we're trying to hit that um, A gap, right? Quickest point from A to B is a straight line. So we're trying to do that on counter. Right? And if you look at this top picture, we're really trying to hit this thing, right, as these guys wall off to our right on lug, and then our pullers come out, kick, pull through, hopefully kick on those two pullers, and we're vertical. Okay, so I'll talk about a couple of the reads for you guys today as well. All right, but lug screw. All right, we're always going to have a tight end pulling. That's our guard tight end counter, right? GY. All right, the other two are going to be our GT counters. All right, but this is our GY counter, and we can run it two ways. We can run it with the tight end on the backside. We can run it with the tight end on the front side. That's what's going to change our footwork, right? Our footwork is always, you're just always going to assume it's that jab and shuffle steps from the gun, aiming point being the crack of the center, and we're reading that thing inside out, which we'll talk about. Pistol, it's going to go drop step, right? Crack of the center, inside out. But the only time we will not take a jab step is when, Mateo, right? Mateo, text the group chat when we don't take a jab step. So taking a look at some film here, the answer is load. Just in case anyone's waiting on bated breath, it is load lug screw when he's already on that front side, right? Tight end's already over there. He's not coming from across. All right. We don't have a second puller. We only have one, so we don't need to take that jab step and shuffle. All right. So we're looking at just regular lug screw here. And this was before we made our jab and shuffle. So Fisher isn't wrong, right? But we do want to be able to get to a jab and shuffle just for timing's sake. And we'll see those as they come. But this is really ideal for us as an offense, and we would love for this double team to work more into the ball, right inside. But vertical push is great no matter where it is, so that's okay by them. Ideally, we want to be able to kick, and our tight end we want to be able to wrap around and also kick, and then that creates this nice big lane for you guys right here, kind of like what happens. And we'll watch it from this back view, kind of like what happens here with fish. We want to create that down vertical gap to be able to hit this thing, right? These guys are getting some push here, pushing this dude back. Hopefully we can carve it down They don't get quite that down movement, but they get a vertical push. We're kicking out with number one on the pull, kicking out with number two on that pull. That's a kick, kick, and we're vertical through there. Gain is 6, not bad on counter. That's it. We'll take that every time. Okay. Okay, another look here. We got pistol. Right, this time we're running we're running screw right to the right. Let's take a look at that point of attack. All right, can we get this movement by the front side? And you guys should be able to visually, peripherally see it, right? You don't have to stare. Mateo doesn't have to stare here to see that, but we should be reading the second puller as he's coming, so that our eyes should be, kind of on this front side to begin with, a point of attack. We don't get that crazy movement, so right? We don't get this down block movement at the point of attack. So Mateo knows it's not going to be a vertical, more than likely not going to be this vertical straight path that he's going to take. He's probably going to have to wind this thing and get ready to get vertical. Okay. So first puller ends up logging here, right? So that's a log and a kick. All right. Logs it. Second puller reads that, goes around, and now he kicks out. Mateo's ready to get vertical right there, right? So really good job there. And then obviously just being a playmaker in space and traffic, making a guy miss off a cut. So good job there, log and kick on that read. And from this view, all right, pistol, we were taking that drop step, okay, back, one foot, taking a step backwards, and that's all the timing we need to hit this thing, okay? So you're going full speed after that drop step. Bang, and we're rolling. Okay, and just from this view, right, our eyes should be at the point of attack. Okay. And ideally, right, you guys should have your eyes more so on that tackle. Can that tackle really pin down and cave down this hole? And if he can't, right, it might squirt through here depending on how this defensive lineman plays it. If he tries to play over the top because he knows he's getting down blocked, or if he stays here, right, this thing's going to fall behind the tackle, and we're going to really start widening this thing out. So just like Teo does here. A couple clips from the spring. We got screw here. Just a really good look at Kai getting vertical, anticipating these blocks. Obviously in pistol, drop step there, and now we're rolling. That's all the timing we need to be in a good relationship between you and the second puller. Vision on this front side, this point of attack, right? We are carving this thing down, and we're going to have a tight end man on the line of scrimmage, right? And so when we see that, this right here, right? If you guys can see it, I know it's obviously tough in pistol, your vision might get cut off, but if you see this tight squeeze by that end man, right? Defensive end, a rush, an outside backer, if he's squeezing really hard and he's trying to spill, we're going to log that. Okay. So really good for you to keep in mind. We're going to log it just like Jace is doing here. Second puller is going to come out depending on who shows, whether it's a backer over the top, right? Or someone filling from the outside. He'll either kick or he'll log as well, right? And then that'll determine where you guys go. So kick, bang. All right, we are kicking here or logging there, and we're kicking here. So we're rolling right between those two. Now we get what we call the U, right? The U out. Okay, you see this double team working here, and now Nava's gonna work off to this linebacker, right? That Mike. And because he plays so hard over the top, instead of just saying, "Oh shit, I can't get him," he's gonna U and just take him where he wants to go. Here, I'm gonna drive my feet, and now that creates another lane for you guys, basically another kick out for you guys to run through. Good run there. All right, load lug, but we're in pistol, so just have that in mind, right? If it's load lug and we're in pistol, only got one puller, you don't take your time back here. We got to get going. Okay, we got to get going. So good job here. If we can have some vision for this point of attack, right? This double team, really collapsing down on their way to the second level. So now that gives us a nice wall that we don't have to really come all the way out here for. We can get more vertical, we can start getting more vertical as we see that. And then pre-snap read wise, okay, let's go back to this view, right? We have a wide end man, and you can't even see him, right? So wide end man, right? Bit wide nine technique. End man on line of scrimmage is pretty far outside the tight end. So right, it's going to be really difficult for this dude to spill from all the way out there, right? So he's probably a force player, but you're not locking onto that, okay? And he's still trying to, you could see he's still trying to get hands on, but because he's in the D gap, all right, we're going to have the ability to kick him out with enough space, and especially because these guys collapse, right? This creates this nice lane for our first puller to kick out, and it still gives you enough space to run through here and then react to these two blocks going on. So we got essentially two kicks on the pullers, quote unquote pullers, because we only have one. Mitch would technically not be a puller. And then we're kind of U-ing out here. All right. But it ends up being, right, not that situation. Now, on paper, when I freeze this, right, hey, fish can hit this thing and just smoke it. And then if you feel that way, great, go for it. Okay. Feel confident to hit this thing vertical. And hopefully that's what these zooms are for, focusing a little bit more on the details so you guys can feel that confidence. But if you don't, right, and you gotta kind of surf like Fish is doing here and kind of bounce, but he's doing this because he's staying square. He's ready to get vertical right here, right? He's just anticipating this going to continue to widen, and I'm going to get vertical right here. So it's a good job by Fish if you are going to bounce to anticipate the read to get vertical, okay? And then obviously we got our jab alignment, right? So we're going to jab screw here, running jab screw. These three steps, right? Didn't have it on the previous thing, but it'll be a three-step footwork, right? So write that down. Okay. Footwork is going to be three steps. Okay. So we're going to take a quick three. It's not going to be this long mid-zone. Oh, geez, steps. Okay. It's not going to be this long mid-zone three steps. Okay. It's got to be one, two, three. That third step can happen more or less right at the mesh point, and then you can get out. So maybe a little far by you here, Mike, but it's about as far as you can be. I'd like a little quicker, just quick, short, 1, 2, 3, and we don't have to take as long because what we don't want to do is create too much space between you and the second puller. We want a nice, hey, bang, bang type of play where this defender right here can't slip underneath and make this tackle or whatever that situation blocking wise may be. So jab here, 1, 2, 3, get behind the second puller, read him. A little unique here. We're not getting that push towards the play side, right? And towards that inside. So we're going to end up kicking out a little bit wider. And Mike's probably thinking, okay, if I have my eyes right, I'm thinking I'm going to have to start getting out wide. Okay. But linebacker misplays this. He fits inside. Bones does a good job of reading that, not just being a robot. So we kick out, and then Bones has good eyes for this linebacker fitting inside, so he just gets man on that guy, and then we're just playing football at this point. Hat on a hat, just getting to the lanes that are opening up. Really good job by Mike getting vertical through there on jab. Okay. Another jab. 1, 2, 3. Right. And this is we got to have a little bit more quickness here because if it's screw, it's this load, right? So load screw here. We gotta do a really good job being quick, okay? Because we see this relationship is so far away from that puller. This space fills up really quickly if we're not quick enough. All right. So we gotta be really good about that going forward. And as long as you have enough demeanor, let's go back to this. As long as you have enough demeanor, you'll be able to get through this thing and break an arm tackle like Fish does there, right? But let's try and execute this in the proper amount of timing it takes, right? That kick out block's happening right now, and we're just, we're shit, man, 3 yards, 4 yards away from it. So good thing that we're watching these and just kind of seeing what we're trying to do on each play, right? In the counter play, we're trying to down, get around, and hit this thing at the right time. Okay, but 3 steps, getting vertical. Okay, just taking a look at some of these. Let's go ahead and detach overlay. Nope, can't do it. All right. Dang. Pause for a second. Bear with me. Bear with me. Just fast forward here if you need to. Okay, sweet. Okay, back. We're back. We're back. We're back. All right, here we go. Just looking at some counter from the NFL. All right, so what's really cool noticing, just say, man, a lot of these guys are doing a lot of this jab and shuffle too. So we're definitely on the right page here, but we're jabbing, shuffling, and you can see that relationship. Obviously, much better camera angles than us, but the relationship between these guys is pretty equidistant, right? So he's got enough space so the tight end can make this read. Okay, he's kicking out, so now I can get vertical. Okay, and then you have enough space between you and the second puller. All right, where's that dude? Is he kicking out or is he logging him? And then that tells me where to go, right? So that equidistant, this is what we want, right? This is a really good job. Front side, point of attack, rather, right? This thing really collapses and it could end up Ewing out, but this thing can really collapse. So, I don't have to get as wide. And your thought process really on counter is going to be very vertical. All right. So they do a good job here, the Rams, of just understanding they're hanging two. Okay. We're not blocking the wrong guys. Okay. He's working on a double team from there to here. Okay. And on his way, he wins over the top. So he's going to U him out. Okay. We can all see that as it's happening. But we're going to hang two, kick out, and this dude ends up Ewing out. And so now we can hit this thing vertical as hell. So really good job. This is the thought process you guys should have and the expectation, right? Just like a hitter trying to hit a fastball going 100 miles an hour, you can't assume it's going to be a changeup. You're going to be late to that fastball, right? So for you guys, you got to assume this is going to open up. And then you can react and kind of bleed this thing out and get vertical when you need to. But assume it's going to be vertical. Because if you assume you're going to bounce this out, well, then you're going to be late trying to get back on track. Okay, and I'll show you a picture of that. But that's what counter should look like for us. Okay, so we're going screw here and much further on the wing. So we won't do it from this far. He'll always be right at this hip. So he'll be a whole body in, but footwork isn't going to be ours, right? Not the same as us, but you can see just a good look at this wall being created, this double team working to here. Okay, so they're doing a really good job. You get a first puller kick out, okay, and then you get a second puller to kick out as well. It creates that nice lane inside, right? So that's our read. Inside out, hit it, right? Hit it. These got to be good enough for us to run through. These blocks right here have to be good enough for us to run right through them. Okay, shouldn't get tackled by that dude. That is a good look at the lane more so than anything. All right, ending up getting to screw. Okay, and you can see what happens when we're not inside out, right? So just breaking this down. Okay, these two working the double team on the 3 technique over to the backside backer. Okay, and then we're getting 2 pullers to kick out, get around, and then what Breece Hall is making the error of is he's assuming all right, this thing's going to bounce out here. And obviously, who knows how these guys are reading it or what they're telling him. But, man, he's thinking, man, I'm going to try and hit this thing in here potentially, but we should be inside first and then out, right? So he's late. His eyes are here, but he's late to get to the inside cut, right? So he runs into his own guy, and man, that could be the difference between 17 and a touchdown. Okay. So that little bit of a hesitation is why we don't want to just be blind, hey, this is where I'm going to hit it. You got to see a little bit of everything. So have your eyes on the point of attack. Can they collapse this thing down? If they do a good job of that, man, this thing could be hitting pretty damn vertical. Okay. And that's why the timing of it is imperative. It's impeccable or it is extremely important, right? Impeccable. Okay. To have this relationship so you can read this out. Because that is plenty of time and space for Breece Hall to read it. He just doesn't read it the right way, perfectly, and that costs him a touchdown. All right. Lug here. Look at the jab. Nice jab stuff there. No shuffle, but you can see the timing is really good, right? We get a really good block down here. So now we can get this space to be created on these blocks for that second guy to pull through. We don't get a tight end man squeezing, so it's going to be a kick out for the most part, very likely. And then now you just read this thing, hey, if I can hit this thing inside, go for it. But at this point, we have peripheral vision, right, on these linebackers and on our guy, right? He's rolling out here. He ends up logging this thing, catching the outside shoulder. But the big thing is this isn't happening where you are too tight to his back and you can't read this. Really good spacing from Shipley here behind the tight end to be able to see, okay, I have that lane. And if he was to go here, I wouldn't be upset either, right? But he has good relationship between the pullers there, so he can hit that and end up bouncing from the kick and the log, right? Kick, log. That's what that read would be. Screw. Okay, again, point of attack really folds down. We're doing a good job there. Okay, it's not crazy, but we're doing a good job to where, we could potentially have a chance to kick this guy out, but sometimes really good players don't allow that to happen. So he's spilling. Okay, that gives that tight end the log read, right? Hopefully, all the meanwhile, you have good timing so you can read this thing out. Looks like they do. We log this first one. Second one's going to get around for his guy. Okay, and what ends up happening here is we could go kind of two ways here. Would love for this to happen, but you guys have to be the final judgment call here, right? You got to be the judge in this situation. Can I hit it vertical? If not, I'm going to bounce this thing out and get vertical as soon as I can. Now, unfortunately, the space between a potential log and kick out by a receiver is not a lot, right? That's not a lot of space, especially for a linebacker that's bleeding over the top. So he just decides to bounce this thing all the way. He ends up getting a big gain, but definitely got to think about getting vertical earlier than later. All right. Now, lift truck. Okay. So this is going to be our read, okay, from the quarterback. GT, guard, tackle, right? GT, counter. Okay. So our quarterback is reading the end man on line of scrimmage. Whether we have a tight end or not, doesn't matter. He's not going to block anybody anyway, but it could widen out an end man, right? So you got to be aware of that. If there's a tight end here, you could be in a wide nine. There's some factors in it, but for the most part, quarterback's reading that defensive end. And so to help with that read, we're going to change the aiming point on lift truck, plow tractor, the quarterback read plays to be a little wider for the running back. So the aiming point dud. The aiming point, take a look right here. It's going to be, hold, there it is, the inside leg of the guard, right? So you're aiming at the inside leg of the guard, not the center's crack. So that's going to widen this track from you, and it's going to really force this defensive end to commit to tackle you or to commit to staying and protect and being the quarterback player, right? So it's going to make it more definitive for the quarterback to read this thing. Shouldn't have any issues with meshes with this play. Okay, so going through the details of this, in the gun, we're jab and shuffle. We're aiming at the inside leg of the guard. Still reading this thing inside out. Jab. We can jab all of our counters. Okay, I know I didn't have it on the previous lug screw, but we can jab all the counters. It's going to be the same 3 steps, but you got to really make sure that aiming point is wider. So if you're going to jab, like this picture, for jabbing, that aiming point has to be wider than it would be on lug screw. Okay, it's got to be a little bit wider. And then pistol is going to be still drop step, aiming for the inside leg of the guard. Okay, so all those are the same minus the aiming point on lift truck and plow tractor. So let's take a look at some of these. Still going to jab and shuffle because we have a second puller that we need to get behind. Quarterback's going to read him. And because we're aiming a little wider, QB feels like, all right, he's not really committing down towards the running back enough, so he's going to hand this thing off. And then it's up to the running back here to make it right. So a good look at, right, we don't get this crazy pin from the front side, the point of attack. So this thing's going to be a little wider, but that's okay because you guys are on this track, right? You're on that wider track, right? But to me, this track is going to be easier because you really have kind of this and this option that are pretty easy for you to do. Good job here by Carter. We're kicking, and then we're logging, and we're right through that gap. Running truck here. Taking a look at the point of attack. Can we collapse this thing down? Sure do, but when we collapse it down, end man on the line of scrimmage is squeezing, and if he's squeezing, we're thinking log. Log here, and then we're getting around, and we're an inside-out counter team, counter read team. So at this point, we should be thinking here. All things equal, we should be thinking inside, not outside, okay? And pre-snap read-wise, really important for you guys. Always be scanning, right, Fish? So we have everybody accounted for. This double team is working to that shade all the way up to the mic here. All right, we're pinning here. Okay, sorry, guard's not pinning. Okay. Oh, we're new school. Love that. All right, new school. So the guard is not pulling. All right. In new school, the center pulls. Okay. So the guard is pinning here, and the tackle's the second puller. So we have him accounted for, We're reading him. He expands with the tight end going out. Okay. We're gonna have the plus on this. Okay. So it's gonna be plus truck for the most part with this house formation. So Sammy's going to the corner, and then we're gonna have our first puller working to this guy. All right. End man on line of scrimmage. Second puller is working to the will, and that leaves one-on-one with the safety. A lot of lines going on. Hopefully you understand that. But that's why it's important to get that pre-snap read. If you can see this, all right, you see him going wide, really, really clears up this lane for us to hit vertical. Now, I don't expect you guys to see all that. But what I do is expect is for you to actually use your brain pre-snap. And I'm going to send you guys what Miles Hastings had to do, what he put himself through on a weekly basis, and your jaws are going to drop to the ground for how prepared that dude was and the fucking neurons in his brain that were firing on every play and what he was thinking and what he was doing. So I expect you guys to be quarterbacks back there as well, have an idea of what's going on, and on this play, we're seeing, right? We're seeing all this stuff happening. We're reading him. Okay. we're pulling around trying to kick or log, right? We're double teaming here all the way to 15. Second puller's coming all the way around. This plus block is working to the corner, and that's leaving this dude free. Like this should be going on in your brain on truck here. This should be going on in your brain. It shouldn't just be, okay, I'm shutting my brain off. I'm going to shuffle and see what happens. That's not how we're playing football back here. Okay. So that's not what I want you guys to do. I want us to be really good about having an understanding of these schemes and what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish so we can do a much better job. Right. And so same deal here. We're doubling, okay, working to that backer, the mic, right? We're going to keep this thing old school. We're going to work out, try and kick. Second puller is going to come through for this dude, and Fisher's going to be out to the widest. I don't know if it's sniff or what, but we end up having numbers so well that our second puller has nobody to block because this is going to be a U out, so he's got nobody because that will, and this could happen, right? This will expands with fish coming out here. So we really got really good numbers, and obviously we got to do a good job of reading this thing out by the quarterback. So just make sure when we run this from here on out, not sure if we changed it at this point in the season, or in the spring, but we got to jab and aim right for that guard's inside leg. So this thing is not too downhill, right? I think you're a little too downhill, but still the quarterback's got to pull this and get out and around it. Okay, but all that stuff's got to be going on in your brain when we do that stuff, when we run these plays. Okay, good job here by Fish. Right, we don't get this down block on the point of attack. He's not getting down, and so now we're having to bleed this thing out. But we got to think vertical, vertical, vertical. Okay, good job by Fish there, getting vertical on that one. Same thing here. Hey man, Elias Scrim is really surfing down. We try to kick. We don't do a great job of it. He ends up kind of leaking, bleeding. So we log, right? We log. We end up trying to kick here. But hey, maybe it ends up turning into a log. But all things being considered equal, we're an inside team versus outside, right? We want to get vertical on these counters as soon as we can. So would love to see that happen there. Okay. Oh man, this thing keeps dying on me. Okay, a couple NFL clips of this lift truck. All right, so we got lift here. Again, looking at what's happening at the point of attack, their scheme is going to be a little different potentially, but we're down to here. So he's going to hang this widest for that first to kick out, and then he's pulling through there, and we're good to smoke this thing right through and get vertical as soon as we can. Really good look there. If you want to rewind, you can. I'm going to try and motor through these to help you guys with timing. Okay, point of attack, we got lift here. Jeez, lift. All right, so we're doubling all the way over, pulling around to try and kick out. He's really wide, so we probably will kick out, pulling for him. So this looks like it could be a really good play. They don't get a lot of movement down inside. That's totally fine. All right, we just got to know that and accept it. And then, hey, shit, let's get vertical when we can. But if we end up getting the blocks we need, okay, he's getting through here. We can just follow him and turn this thing into a bounce, and we're getting vertical whenever we can, right? Nice little hurdle there. Love that. Jab step, log, misread by the second puller. Should be getting around to here. But really important for us to know, hey, do we have sync on? Do we have sync where that outside guy's going to go work down to the first inside the box? Do we have sniff? Somebody else is coming out to the corner. What do we have going on? Who's blocking who? Who's accounting for who? All right, that allows us to get vertical, get to the outside, knowing we have help. Okay. All right, plow. Last one. And then you guys are good, right? About an hour on each of these. So really, really helps with your development, fellas. So don't just skip through these. Don't just skip through these. Hopefully you haven't at this point, but these really help with understanding what we're trying to do on each play. Right. So difference between lift truck and plow tractor is that we're going to have we're running this to the closed side, right? When we say closed, we're talking about a tight end being on that side. So the closed side of the formation is the right side here. The open side of the formation is the left side here. Okay, so this is open, this is closed. Okay, so we're running it to the closed side, meaning hopefully we can get a tight end or a defensive end to widen out outside of the tight end. And if he can't, the goal is to try and sugar this guy, right? When we say sugar, we're going to throw some dust in his face at tight end and then work to the next man, right? So that'll slow down the defensive end from really spilling this thing too crazy. So hopefully it's a better vertical play for us. Okay, but same deal on all the footwork aiming points and reads as lift truck. Looking at it here, let's go to this view first. Okay, all right. So we got a really wide. So Sam is outside of Mitch, right? So can't even see the end man on line of scrimmage. That bodes well for our first puller coming out and being able to kick out and get our second puller through, right? That bodes really well for it, and that's what happens. We get this good kick out block, and now Nava can just roll through here, and he's got to have some speed coming through here. If these guys don't have speed coming through, you got to get on their fucking asses about it. Okay, and then it's up to you guys to, hey, am I getting vertical or is somebody fucking flying through there? Like, that's up to you guys. But obviously, we still got to jab and shuffle. Made these adjustments in spring, so no big deal. But that's what it should look like, right? Kick, and then the second one, not really blocking anybody. It's okay. Really good job getting vertical here by Mike. All right, let's look at the play side here. So we are fucked up. Okay, we are messed up here. We should be hanging him. All right, let's move on. But good read by Mike. Just anticipating all this stuff going on, kicking out. He can see this dude's pulling through here. Like, really good job anticipating. Don't want to take that away from Mike on this one. Really good job anticipating. Great demeanor, great chin, good ball security. It's a really good run. Love it. Tractor. All right, so you can see here, always be scanning. Defensive ends outside or head up. Now he works inside. Okay, so now maybe we don't have this nice, tight, easy cut vertical. Okay, maybe this thing bleeds out a little bit more because he's going to step down and try and spill. And that's exactly what happens. He spills. We log it. Bang. First one's logged. Second one, we follow. We end up giving a kind of a two-way go here. And because of that, Carter's getting vertical right between the two with enough speed, demeanor, momentum to break that arm tackle. That shouldn't tackle us. So really good job there. I'll play it one more time. Log, head on, breaking an arm tackle. Just looking at some NFL. Wide end man. This is Loki Thor. So even more condensed end man over here for the quarterback to read, but wider end man over there for us to be able to pull and kick out. Okay, so hopefully that creates more of a window for you guys. Okay, so just all stuff to consider and factor in. And look at that. Exactly what we wanted. All right, we have that space. These two collapse down to that opposite backer. Bang. And now we're pulling through. We kick out. We kick out. These dudes do a good job getting here. This potentially could turn into a U. I don't know. It does, or it should. Jesus, 71. It should turn into a U out, and we should be there clean through there. But we get a gain of 11 because we know what we're doing, what we're looking at. And the aiming point here, I think is pretty good, right? Good aiming point, good track. Just really anticipate, especially if you feel this being really collapsed. Anticipate that, right? Anticipate the inside. Good job getting downhill. Little eye candy, little action. Okay, so with these sweeps and stuff, maybe we get some guys to go with it, but you also might bring guys into the party, so it all kind of cancels out at some point or another. But we have a we're running kind of a nailish or sorry, we're not reading the backside here because we're closing it off, right? So rookie receiver Lad McConkey on All Pro, All Hall of Fame, fucking Myles Garrett doesn't really do much, but slows him down enough to just hand the ball off, right? And so we can do that, but good timing, good relationship between these two. First puller on the second one, we get enough on the double team to collapse. First one's kicking out. We're through here kicking out, and we're thinking downhill all the way, right? Inside out, running through with some demeanor. Just a fucking brutal job blocking here by the Chargers tight end. Doesn't even come close. And then we're out the gate. Okay. So unfortunately, it's happening to my Brownies, but it is what it is. Let's watch this other view here. Okay. We're down, pulling around, kicking out there, running with some demeanor, knowing what we're seeing, knowing what we're looking at, so we can have confident aggression as running backs to know what we're looking at, what we're seeing, and hit this thing with some confidence, right? So he's hitting this thing, knows where he's supposed to go. Arm tackle doesn't bring him down, and then he's out the gate for a gain of 30 plus because of confidence, really. Last one, or two more. This and another one, then you guys are done. Okay, again, plow here, plow tractor. So we're getting in the way here. That's good for you guys to know because, man, I know I'm getting the ball, right? No read. If we close out that C gap, no read. We're just getting the ball. Good aiming point, jab and shuffle, aiming point at the guard's inside leg. We got a wide defensive end. Once we get our eyes over there, we see him starting to surf. Hopefully, it's enough space to be able to close that out, to kick out. It ends up being a kick out at first, but this thing develops into a log. They spill. That's why we have enough time and space between you and the second puller so you can read this thing out. We decide to bounce it, and then that second puller kicks, we get vertical, right? That's a great counterplay. And then last one, mostly showing this because we did this a couple times and it was a point of emphasis last year, but if we go Wildcat, right? So big thing on these is you got to get on track. So when you do this, fake toss or laugh action, whatever it is, you got to get back on track. We got to get downhill. We can't do this and go outside, right? We are inside out first, not outside in first. Okay. So that's what we got to do. Really good look at Brian Robinson doing it, faking that toss, getting to exactly where he would be on counter, exactly where he would be. This nice 2-3 yards away from that second puller, vertical, good gain of 6 here. Only made possible because of that track. Okay. All right, fellas, that's it.